Right now, you're going to see multiple strikes. Both intercontinental and medium-range ballistic missiles can be what's called MIRVed, M-I-R-V, and that stands for multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles. So each one of those missiles can carry several, and I counted 6 strikes in this film, but they can count several missiles coming out of several explosions, several warheads coming out of one missile. Both countries, the United States and Russia, have these MIRV vehicles like this coming out of missiles. Truthfully, they're designed primarily for nuclear war, to deliver multiple nuclear weapons across a continent, but they can also carry high explosive weapons and chemical weapons to a target. And I think that's what Russia is relying on. The one last thing, if you ask, why is this happening now? Well, with the delivery of the ATACMS missiles, the use of the UK Storm Shadows, as you were just talking about, that is pushing Russia back away from the front lines with Ukraine. So they are going to continue to look for ways to fire these kinds of missiles or other kind of bombs from extended distances. And you can't strike all the locations where they're coming from, because as we got to remind ourselves, there's 11 time zones across Russia. It's a huge country, thousands of miles. They can keep moving back and avoid having their attack location struck by the Ukrainian forces. But it is pushing things away from the front lines, and it is causing Russia to use different kinds of munitions.
It's interesting, too, as you make the point that it's pushing Russia away from the front lines. We also have we also have the UK's defense intelligence warning, and when it comes to the front lines, specifically for Ukraine, saying that it is less stable than it has been at any point in this war since the earliest stages of Russia's full-scale invasion. Adding that to what we've seen in terms of the increase in the weapons that are being used and the response we're seeing from Russia, what do you anticipate in the coming days?
You know, Erica, it's a great question, because in the past, over the past 2 years, I think I could predict what was going to happen next. But in where we are right now, truthfully, both sides, the Ukrainian and the Russian sides, are fatigued. And what I mean by that is they are losing soldiers, Russia more than Ukraine. They are losing their weapon systems, and Ukraine, obviously being supplied by both the United States and other Western countries, is dependent more on the resupply coming. And as Ukraine has gone into the Kursk Oblast, they are fighting for territory to potentially trade away to get their territory back. This is a war that has been fought on the front lines and at extended distances over terrain. The illegal invasion and the criminal invasion by Russia into the territorial integrity of Ukraine has just caused more and more problems for both sides. But we're almost 3 years into this now, and both sides are suffering significantly. What is going to come next, I don't know. I still continue to believe that Ukraine is fighting courageously. Russia is depending now on more and more alliance support from North Korea, Iran, and even China. So we're going to see where this ends up, is, how much damage can be done. It's like two big boxers in a ring going at each other for a very long time. Who's going to lose their will first? And I personally think Ukraine will continue to hang on if they're given the support and the supplies to do so.
Yeah, and that, of course, is the big if in terms of that support and the supplies. General Mark Hertling, always appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
And Colonel, is that why he's also emphasizing this change in the Russian doctrine of, if you are a non-nuclear weapon-armed country, but you're attacking Russia with the help of a nuclear-armed country. We're going to consider that as a joint attack against Russia. He did that today.
Well, that's precisely it. He wants to deter the United States from fully supporting Ukraine, saying, you know, if we get hit too badly by Ukraine using American weapons, we can retaliate against the United States. We consider that a joint operation. It's a dangerous path that he's walking down. He thinks that he'll win that escalation dominance because Ukraine means more to him than it means to the United States. And we'll see. We have no idea how President Trump is going to approach this conflict.
And Colonel, I do just want to emphasize here, we're getting in some new reporting from our Oren Lieberman and Natasha Bertrand, who cover the Pentagon, that experimental Russian ballistic missile that was fired at Dnipro carried multiple warheads. Tell us if that's significant to you, because we know that this weapon, called a Mirv, M-I-R-V, it's shorthand, it's for multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. The idea being that it's designed to cover or to carry multiple nuclear warheads. Here it appears it carried multiple non-nuclear warheads.
Yeah, it's clearly a weapon designed for nuclear warfare. It's very expensive to use a weapon like that for a conventional attack, and there's other means to hit those targets. So this clearly was part of the nuclear saber rattling and a message from Vladimir Putin that I have these weapons and they work, and, you know, tread your path carefully in terms of what you want to do to us, because we can respond in kind.
Yeah, a potential first wartime use, a preview of what it could look like without nuclear warheads.
Да. Алло. Да, у меня брифинг.
Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson took an unusual pause during this live news conference in Moscow.
Да, хорошо, спасибо.
Before this briefing, Ukraine's military accused Moscow of firing an intercontinental ballistic missile into its territory for the first time. A Western official said that the missile Russia used was a ballistic missile, but not an intercontinental one. In a follow-up to the press briefing, the Russian spokesperson said in a statement to Russian state media that there was, quote, no intrigue.